Welcome everybody. It's our third webinar, and this time we're talking about something a little bit differently. First of all, this is Whit and Sarah. We are with Hill Country Tech Guys out of San Marcos, Texas. Hill Country Tech Guys is an IT company that provides outsourced IT to companies from anywhere from small to medium-sized businesses. We also do supplemental IT for those that have maybe one or two IT people on staff. Our major goal and our major goals in working with people is that we help provide security for today and growth for tomorrow. And this has been one of our passions for quite a while, but it's even more so today that we see that security today is extremely important, and that we're really trying to hone in and make sure that we're providing all support that we can for our local community and those businesses that we've been in touch with all along. I'm Sarah, and I'm the COO, which basically means that I am more of the day-to-day operations. I have some planning for the future, but that's generally off of the guidance of what my CEO tells us he predicts is in the future, or where he wants us to go, and I try to make it come into action. So we've been working towards a remote workforce for probably the last year. We've been trying to focus on that, and the current pandemic has just really put us into more of a urgent state. We are currently operating at we have 5 to 7 people that still go into the office, and the rest work remotely out of 28. So we're doing pretty good, and we're dropping that number quickly. And all the people that do go to our office are that's their option currently. We haven't forced a mandated remote workforce since we are considered on the essential list. Whit?
Unmute myself. Yeah, so we basically, we wanted to take some of the things we're running into as far as, making this happen, and not from a technology standpoint, but from the effects of the technology on our people, and explain some of that, and explain some of the things we're hearing, and in that. So that's what this webinar is going to be, and from my point of view, I guess. And, continually, we just want to share our knowledge and, share what we're hearing and share ideas, because we feel like, everybody out there has a lot of great ideas and a lot of great experience, and we can leverage those things and, and keep trying to grow. I mean, we said this was going to go on for 4 weeks, but we've already talked about switching to doing like a bi-weekly one or a monthly one with any new conversations, and maybe try to help people with the forward movement during this time. And that's kind of what we're already trying to move forward. How do we not survive this, but thrive in this? And we feel like it's a necessary transition.
I ask that anybody that would like to put their name, what company they're with, any specific questions that they have in the chat or the Q&A. We'll kind of monitor as we go. We're switching things up a little bit, and that Whit will be monitoring the questions, and that I'll be presenting some of the details, just because of the nature of what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, in truth, it's because Sarah's smarter than me. So we're gonna...
We have our own strengths. So those that have been here or are new, the last 2 webinars have been about setting employees up to securely work from home, and monitoring tools and setting up security for employees. So those are actually up on our YouTube. If you don't have those links, reach out to us. We're getting them up on our website too. The first webinar is there, and the second one is going to be coming very shortly. But they're available to anyone for you to share. They're just our gatherings of information of what we have. So they're by no means the end-all solutions, and there's nothing else. It's just what we've been working with and what we're recommending at this time. Today we're going to talk about leading your remote workforce. Since we now have the tools, and you guys have the ideas of what you can have available to you, and what the people, how you can get them up and running, we're now going to focus on how to lead those people, and using those tools that you now have, how can you be influential and moving your company forward. Next week, we're going to be talking about policies, different kind of policies to protect not only your business, but your employees as we work through this different situation, okay? Next week's webinar is on the 16th at 4 p.m., same time, same place. All right, so
You talk
let's,
about next week because we've kind of already got bullets for that one.
I just did. Yeah, the policies, we're gonna be talking about the policies.
Sorry, I'm reading chat over here. I must have missed him.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so there's leading your remote workforce, and then there's leading your remote workforce in a crisis, which they touch on each other, but they're kind of different. And so I'm going to be focusing on one and the other, because if you have the tools to lead your remote workforce strongly, then you're going to be doing fine in the crisis. The reality is that we all have things that we can be improving upon before this, and even more so now. I usually talk to my leadership that in these types of stress, this is where we find our cracks. And there's a goodness to that, there's a good part to that, and there's a bad part to that. The bad part is that stress that comes in. But the good part is if we can, fill in those cracks and fine tune our processes, then we're that much stronger tomorrow. So we'll be talking about those little different things. In my theory, this is just all my theories, by the way, of my coming up and listening to different people and doing my research, I believe that there's three major pillars in working with a remote workforce. That is that there's measuring performance, what does good look like, there's communication, and then there's culture. I'm going to talk about all three. I will probably spend the most talking about what good looks like, because if you don't have what good looks like, an understanding of where your employees are, it's going to be really hard to lead a team. You can have a team and they can work, but it will be really hard to lead a team. So I'm going to really focus on that at the beginning. I hear so much, and this is where I got really hung up on a remote workforce, about how do you know that your employees are going to be working as hard at the office as they are at their home? Like, how do you know what they're doing? Are they staying engaged? And there's this misconception that people working from home, people at the office, if they look busy, then they are busy. There's that comfort of walking around the office and seeing them plugging away on their computers, and therefore they must be really contributing. And when you don't have that, there's that concern that they're not doing that. It is a misconception, because anybody that's been an employer knows that people can look busy whether they are busy or not. And on the other side, people can be really busy and look totally calm about it. So we're going to talk about defining what good looks like in your own organizations, and to accomplish the necessary goals that you have. Okay, so defining what good looks like. It will set common priorities and goals for teams. It allows for transparency and performance, and it gives knowledge to future decisions. These types of information is really, really important. There are different ways that you can get it. There's probably a lot, probably more than I will ever know, but the way that we really focus down and narrow down on it is by using key performance indicators. Key performance indicators, I'll talk about in just a minute, but they allow you to make these decisions. They allow you to review your people to have transparency in their performance. I put that little clip in on there about people working in opposite ways and or not going anywhere, because it also just gives a lot of transparency to the team about which direction that they're going. In a crisis, measuring what good looks like is really important, because it provides clarity to people. People need clarity in a crisis more than any other time in their entire lives. If you've been on a conference call with anybody in the nation, they're different right now, because the first question is, how are you doing? And there's usually like this sigh or this yeah, and because everybody's in the same boat right now. We're all dealing with so much uncertainty, and that's why companies that can provide that clarity, it's going to become like the safety space for people to go, because people thrive when there's clarity and when there's a confidence in that movement forward. Clarity of expectations can provide success, and success can build confidence. That's where you want to be right now. You want to be where people are finding and feeling successful, so that they can have the confidence in there. They will remember that. The clip I just have on here, it's not even a clip, it's a picture, but it's about the Independence Day movie, when he's up there providing this really big talk. But the reality is that they all got their marching orders already. They already know what they're doing. They have this step-by-step guideline about how they're going to take down the aliens. And then he gets up there and gives a speech, and everybody's, celebrating him. But would they be celebrating him if they were like, we don't know what we're going to do, but go do it? No, they're celebrating because they have clarity and they have confidence in that. Okay, so key performance indicators. I've kind of broken this up into different types of ways that I like to evaluate, okay? There's one called task-oriented, and then there's another that is performance outcome. Task-oriented goals are those types of goals that can be reached daily, okay? And they're easy to measure. One of the easy ones is like number of unread emails, work down to 0. Okay, that's a very task-related goal, and it's an easy one to see at the end of a day. Other, for instance, ones is like how many calls have they answered, how many patients have been seen, the number of dollars invoiced. Whit has 1,000 of these that he likes to bring up, but they're just really easy, and they're tasks, and they're smaller. Like, think of everybody's job if they were in bite-sized pieces, and that's what these are. The employees that have these, I should say, first of all employees should have KPIs. They should all know what they're working towards, but they really shouldn't have more than 3 to 5. The reason why is that you can't possibly keep your eyes on 10 different numbers. So a lot of times you'll have employees that are doing dual jobs. You're going to try to focus it on the most important thing that their job has, okay? Check-ins on these numbers should be daily or weekly. They're real quick. They're real quick turnarounds. They're quick feedback about whether how they're performing and if they're on track or they're off track, okay? Those are task-oriented KPIs. Performance outcome KPIs are those that have more longevity to them. They can't actually almost never be done by day. They're weekly, monthly, or even yearly goals that you're working towards. Things are like profitability, time to resolution, utilization. They're these words or these things that need more than one day of data, and they're bigger goals that they can be working towards. And employees can have 3 to 5 of these also. These are going to be more of a performance base. So this is really where the meat and butter is. This is not you hand holding them day by day. This is how really are they contributing to the company. I'd love to hear any ideas of things that you guys monitor or see so that we can kind of collaboratively understand these. I find that it's hard first to wrap your brain around what you and your company could do, and then once you get it, they come like rapid fire. Then you're just like, oh yeah, this, and that.
Well, we were talking about, like, a lot of people don't realize that with a modern phone system, they say, well, I have no way of knowing how many voicemails were left or tracking that. Well, you're looking at it the wrong way. My favorite way to look at it is a lot of modern, especially cloud-based phone systems, have the ability to give you a calls not returned report. So instead of tracking, how many voicemails didn't get returned, how many phone calls were not returned, how many missed calls did it not see the system call back, or that person call back in and get it answered. And you kind of sometimes have to get creative. You most likely are going to have to make some kind of technology investment to make a lot of these things happen. But you got to sit down and think about it and start tweaking it. I mean, God, what did we start doing? We started this 3-4 years ago, where we were trying to find KPIs for every member of our organization. And I think for a while, it was like monthly, we changed them. We would find a better number, or maybe to the end user, the number looked the same, but we pulled it a different way or filtered out more information, trying to home in on how do we know this person's doing a good job. And it's not even really for us to know, it's for that person to know they're doing a good job. Because when we're all, especially like this, when you're all isolated, you don't have that ability, and walking around and making sure everybody looks busy is not an option anymore. You need to be able to drive to the numbers and let the numbers be the truth. And that's where you kind of have to make this investment in creating these analytics.
Yeah, I mean, it was extremely changing for our company. And I think everybody in my organization knows the word field skis now, because I say, are you making that decision off of field skis or off of data? And we know that all too well, because for a very long time in our company, we made most decisions off of field skis. Let's
say the most frustrating thing for me is having to wait to get the data. Like, a day in time is not that useful, but a month or 2 months of data across the organization is amazing to what you could see and the information you can learn about employees. And, often we'll go in organizations and they'll say, oh, I just don't think there's physically any way I could have any data that could guide me. But is there? Like, new appointments booked by receptionists, appointments booked by receptionists by time of day, cancellations by receptionists. you don't ever know if maybe that receptionist is not really good at rebooking. You know, one time I walked in the office and the doctor was like, you know, we just can't get any busier and da 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 da. And I said, how about let's turn on, you know, call recording and the pick calls. And what we found out is when it got late in the day or got busy, the receptionist stopped scheduling appointments, but that was not her job. So you got to dive into these, you know, information, and you got to say, what can I do to fix this problem with data? And, you know, I think things like the employee monitoring solutions are great, but when you can put it to an automatic data-based analytics, you're better off because it's simpler, it's easier, and it's more defined. So anyway.
Yeah, I think that's really why we wanted to address this, because we did do monitoring tools last time. And the reality is that monitoring tools can be really beneficial, but they're not going to tell you whether an employee is succeeding or not. That has to be done by their productivity, by their performance, and that's where these numbers can really come in. So the tools that we talked about previously that can really help these situations. There's no harm right now in using spreadsheets. Now, long-term solutions, spreadsheets are not going to be the thing, but sending, you know, having a spreadsheet in a shared drive where everybody's dropping their numbers and how their performance is, or something that you have for this time, and so that you have some visibility into them is not terrible. In the future, or just starting to look at now, there are some really powerful tools. Power BI is not a click and play solution, but it is powerful, and it can work with a lot of different softwares, and it has great integration. But also just asking whatever software providers that you have, asking them if they have anybody that integrates to them for reporting tools, or if they themselves have reporting tools in there and what kind of information that it shows. It really is beneficial for an office manager or any kind of manager to really spend some time into how they can see this performance with their employees. And I think Whit said it earlier. I think our first mistake was trying to get these KPI numbers perfect the first go round. We spent months and months just milling around what kind of KPIs we can drive to, or what we can have. Your first KPIs are just going to be they're going to be a discovery phase. They're going to be looking at all your employees. They're not going to be what's going to end up showing total transparency to your entire company in one number. So I guess my suggestion is just to pick a couple that your gut says. Go off your feel skis on your gut for the first go round. Something that you feel like would be helpful. And once you have those numbers and you start watching it for a while, your mind will start saying, well, this is helpful, but that would really be helpful. Is there a way that we can find that? And those are the tunnels that can really provide those details for you. Okay, so the second pillar in the remote workforce is communication. And I'm sure you've heard pretty much everybody talk to you about how you need to be over communicating with your employees right now. And I'll agree and disagree with that, and I'll talk to you in just a minute. But I will say that once you've introduced these KPIs, you've got to get a meeting cadence in rhythm, because you're going to have to give feedback to them, and they're going to have to be able to give feedback to you on those meetings. So the Teams meetings that we started talking about, there's Google Meetup, is that what it's called, Whit? Hangouts, Google Hangouts, and Zoom meetings. Those are all going to be really important to provide these meetings so where you can get that cadence of feedback from each other. And that you're going to be able to explain the clear expectations. Here's why we're doing this. We need to know where we're moving at the time. That, you know, now that we've had the KPIs out there for so long, it's been really helpful for me, because I've been able to say predictions on income so that we're able to look forward to the next month and really see where we're at. But I wouldn't be able to do that if our employees weren't meeting their KPIs of items quoted or anything like that. So in crisis communication, it helps prioritize and focus people, and it helps give confidence and eases anxiety. If they understand where the company is going, if they understand what's expected of them, it helps them, especially working in a remote environment where it is not the easiest thing to now balance a home work-life situation for people that have kids, or even I'm hearing pets, because cats can be annoying. That's been a new thing. But just really finding that balance and them having some confidence in what's expected of them is really important. Where I will disagree with the communication is that all communication is not good communication, and it can cause an overload of information, or even worse, it can be superfluous information that they don't really need, and it's taking what precious time they have to be productive for your company. So I will put out a warning on that, but make sure that the communication that you're having, any meetings that you're having, are concise, are productive, and are moving them forward in their current day, and not overloading them with information that they can't possibly understand right now. Like, what if this goes on for a year? We can barely fathom that as what we were going to do with the company, as with the companies. So why put that on their plate right now? Focus them on what they can focus on right now. This is a big one for me. Anybody that knows my managing style, I strongly believe in setting up a communication network or a managing network. I'm very passionate on managers, team leads, team liaisons, whatever you have to do to where you have huddles of 6 to 10 people within your organization. So that way, if you have to quickly get information out, I only have to call 6 people, and then they only have to call 6 people, and so on and so forth to get all of the information out. The reason is because for me to call 28 people right now, it would be pretty ludicrous if I needed to get information out in a hurry. Now, emails do work, but I'm talking about that information that needs some clarification, some communication. And I also want to make sure those lines are always open for people to get feedback to me. Now, I've told my employees over and over again that I'm available by Teams, by chat, by anything that they need, but I don't have a relationship with every single one of my employees. And I've created these managers and these team leads within my company so that they have a close relationship with someone whose job is to pass that information up. Someone that they have already talked to on a weekly basis about what's going on, all those different types of things. So I'm a big proponent of those, and I do believe that this can get set up even in a remote environment to where everybody has 6 to 10 people that they're meeting with on a regular basis to pass information down and gather back information. With those types of groups, you can set up a meeting cadence of a daily 15-minute stand-ups where they're just handling like, what's your priority today and what are the fires. My leadership's been in place for quite a while, so I'm able to meet with them after all of their meetings because I don't generally have to set their priorities. They know what their priorities are, and that way I hear all of their fires that they've brought from all of their different teams. So I set mine up after their 15-minute huddles to have my 15-minute huddle with them. There's team performance ones on a weekly basis that they can be meeting with their own tasks, KPI tasks and reviews. And then there's coaching, monthly one-on-one coaching or a team in-depth review. Now those are big things to swallow in a time if you don't already have these moving forward, and not to over-exhaust your entire company right now. If you're not doing these types of meetings or any meetings, I would start with the 15-minute huddles. When we started 15-minute huddles a couple years ago, they were 30 minutes long, and we kept on having to try to scale back because they really shouldn't be more than 15 minutes. But when people haven't been communicating that way, then they all of a sudden think that they have to get everything on your plate right away because they're not used to that open communication. So don't get discouraged if they don't go great the first time. Just keep that cadence going, and they'll eventually fall into place as long as you keep them saying, is this priority, something we need to know about today, or is this a fire?
I think that's something that I just thought of that we're not doing, that we didn't write in this presentation is, the meeting rhythm and the process to these huddles that makes them a positive event, asking the people, for their wins for the day or for the week. I feel that's an important thing that you need to make sure you have that element to these meetings, because for a lot of people, these meetings are going to be the only communication they have with the outside world potentially. And, you don't want to make it to where, the whole thing is anxiety, right? I mean, I was telling Sarah that today, it just feels like right now everything is so intense that we have to make sure that our meetings have that ability to kind of bring back down the intensity and get the rhythm going again, because that's what people I think are missing a lot of.
Yeah, and there's a few ways that you can do that. I have one of my meetings that starts off with a win personal and a win business. I have another one of my team leads that does colors, red, orange, yellow, green. Where are you at right now? And then do you need a follow up after this? Basically, if they're not green, do you want to talk? And then other people just do highs and lows. Where are you at? What's a good thing that's happened? What's not? if I find that's a really good way to not only ground people, but let them know that you're invested in them as a person. We don't expect people to be 100% on every day. We're people, we have issues. So that allows them to have that human side of them in that moment. So like I said, right now, you need to be evaluating not this ideal meeting structure that will benefit, that will be this long-term thing. Right now, we're just really in the crisis mode of the pandemic. So what can we do right now that would be most beneficial for our team? And in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, I haven't heard anybody else talking about this, but I do believe that considering additional tactical meetings for the people that are, and I call it the hardest hit department, but I usually call it the people that are in the trenches. So the people that are having to deal with the most chaos, the most unknown right now. There are decisions that they're having to make on a daily basis that they've never had to make before. My support service team has been hit with questions and decisions that they've had to make that are totally outside our norm. So we've gone, and my support service manager has moved their meetings to where they have to stand up huddle type meetings twice a day, just because there's been so many different, I don't know what to do with this. This is different than our normal. And I do encourage people to evaluate whether they need that for those people that are in the trenches. But also be considerate of death by meetings. And I called it death by Zoom meetings. I was talking to one of my family members earlier, and she was like, I don't know if I can get on one more Zoom meeting, like just because there's so many. Be careful that you're going to wear people out on that. You want them to be productive moving forward and contribute to their days and their day productivity. Okay, so culture, and this is very, very short one. And it's just basically something that Whit and I are having to remind ourselves all the time right now, because owners can take a big hit of the stress and the anxiety about what's going on, but we're not the only ones. Everybody is having a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety about what's going on in the future. And we have to remind ourselves that how we're going to lead our company today is going to set a tone for our culture for the next couple of years of our business. Our employees are watching us, they're looking up to us, and they need our guidance. And that this could be the fireside story of how your team came together to do something incredible, to do something amazing. And it can be something that really brings your company together in that. And for that to happen, you really got to focus on how you talk during meetings and what's right, bringing in something positive during every single meeting. Evaluating your stress level and figuring out how to manage that before you're talking to people, how you're talking to people. Chat's a big thing right now, and I had to watch myself because I can be very short in chat, and really trying to get more information and more I call them fluff words, but they're probably not, that's probably not appropriate word, but it's the nice words that allows people to get a good tone of where you're at.
I mean, I think it's worth saying that like our leadership style with our staff is how we run our business. I mean, everyone has their different, but just yesterday evening, was it Wednesday? Yeah. We had a meeting where we had invited all the staff to it. And the goal of the meeting was to tell them what we did know, what our plans were, how we were responding. And this was just for our own organization, right? And we're allowing everybody to ask any questions they have. And basically how we're trying to protect their jobs and how we're trying to protect the organization, and being upfront with our plans and how we're trying to handle the situation, and just trying to, be as honest as we can. We tend to be on the side of openness in our organization and probably oversharing for sure. I mean, that's kind of what happens in a family-owned organization, I feel like, and we like that. That's our culture, and we're going to continue that. So I guess we're trying to say here is you need to make sure you don't let this change your culture of your organization. You need to try to find a way to bring it to the online meetings and things that you're having.
I think that's a good point. Our culture doesn't have to be your culture, and we're not trying to make it. Think about what makes your own culture, your own team jive together, your own team become cohesive when they are together, and try to find a way that you can put that into a virtual world. So a couple of things that I just, because I was doing my own research on how to do team building activities for a remote environment, and I found a couple of ideas. For those of you that have done Jackbox TV, it's really easy, it's really great, and it's really simple. So we paired ours with a Zoom meeting for our family the other day, and it was really cool. And so I'm going to try to actually push that out to our company as well to see if we can do.
It's
There's other things.
So make sure
it's a little chaotic. It is.
But it's a lot of fun.
Yep. But some other things I'm evaluating is just kind of like a fitness challenge or a gratitude picture challenge, just something that gets people thinking in a different direction for a minute a day. That's really what it's not overwhelming them, but getting them just a little bit of something else to think about and thinking about each other.
One idea I had that we haven't done that is kicking around in my brain that is there's companies like I don't know if Crewwho transcends to other industries, but they're online based CSAT and custom and team building tools to where you can give every employee 100 points. I don't even know what the numbers mean, but you can give them some point value, which they can then use that to give to other team members when they appreciate them, or they can cash them in for real things. I mean, you can put anything you want in there that they're worth, even a day off, a new keyboard, a Visa debit card, whatever, right? So you can transcend it. But I think that's going to be another phase that we might need to look at, is how we can let them start reaching out to each other and self-encouragement. And I heard you had a bad day, here's a Starbucks gift card kind of a thing. Having that ability to pat each other on the back, I think, I don't think this is going away soon. So the sooner we make this, more of a thrive situation will be better. So.
Well, I do know that in Microsoft Teams, by default, it has a category that's thank yous and shout outs. So having your own way, if you have any type of chat program, having a board or a page where people can just call out people for being great would be a good way to encourage each other right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so next week our webinar is same time, same place, and it's going to be covering policies that we have, or I might not have them, and I just say you should probably have them, and I'm working on them.
Gotchas that we've run into,
Gotchas, for sure.
We're trying to give you the gotchas. I mean, there's a lot of common sense stuff. We might talk about a little bit of that, but we want to talk to you about some of the funny things we've heard and seen, and maybe you haven't. That'd be the goal, to give you that. So if you have any policy gotchas that you'd like to share, please email them to us. We'd love to have them. Any of that stuff. If any of you have ideas you want to talk about, let me know. I'm happy to share it with you and let you, also share what you know. Anyway, yeah, for sure.
Okay, that's all that we have for today. Of course, you can always reach out to us by firststep@hctechguys.com, or that's our phone number, and you can reach myself or Whit. Just ask those when you get a hold of our dispatchers. And if you have any other questions, please contact us. We're here to help. We just want to make sure that we're helping anyone we can make it through this tough time. That's all I have.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we appreciate your participation.